and got another great topic for you today, and it is bugs can help your brain function.
Welcome to the Restorative Longevity Podcast, where we share how to increase your quality of life while also increasing your longevity. Now let's welcome our host, Jimmy Yen, also known as the AccuSensei. Jimmy is a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, nutritionist, and restorative longevity expert dedicated to guiding you on your journey to vibrant health and lasting wellness.
So, bugs can help your brain function. That's the topic of today. So, in alignment with how I do these podcasts, what is the point? What is the point? What is the practical application of this specific podcast? Here it is. Probiotics. Probiotics, not in the sense of taking a supplement. Probiotics, eating bacteria, eating probiotics will help your brain function, help your health, and keep your brain really alert. Beneficial bacteria are huge in making sure that your brain health stays at optimal levels, right? So we're going to dive in deep on what does that actually mean? Aren't bacteria not supposed to be going to our brain? Well, we're going to tackle that today, okay? So let's first start with some basic definitions, set the stage. Microbiome. So microbiome is, you can say, gut, health, there's kind of similar terms, but the term of microbiome, if you haven't heard microbiome, what is it? Microbiome is a collection of the bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microbes that live in our body, right? So just like the planet, like Earth, there's an ecosystem. It has its own ecosystem of animals, plants, humans, and all sorts of organisms in this ecosystem of this planet Earth. Same with our body. Our body is our own ecosystem, and it's a very complex ecosystem. And here's an interesting point that I learned. Our body's ecosystem, majority of the cells that are in our body's ecosystem are not human. They're not human, right? So are we aliens? I don't know. But let me give you some data. So the body has approximately 100 trillion bacteria. 100 trillion bacteria lives on our body. 95% of those 100 trillion bacteria are in our gut. Okay, they're in our gut. So our gut is our intestinal lining. That starts in our mouth. Our gut, when I say gut, it's not just your large intestine and small intestine, right? It's your whole intestinal tract, your whole digestive tract, starting with your mouth, your throat, your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestine, large intestine. That is your gut, okay? So it contains 95% of the 100 trillion bacteria that is in our body. So what does that mean? So bacterial cells outnumber human cells by a factor of 10 to 1. So we contain more bacterial cells than actually human cells. It's pretty interesting, right? And so 90% of our cells in our body are non-human. They're microbes, right? So I don't know if you find that pretty interesting, but I do, right? So you can see how making sure that those microbes, the balance of those microbes or microbiome is super important. If 90% of our cells in our bodies are not human, they're these microbes, shouldn't we pay attention to them, right? This is what they found. If they grouped all of those 100 trillion bacteria cells together, it would form the size of a football and it would weigh 3 pounds. So we have 3 pounds of foreign DNA in our body that we carry, every one of us carries. Crazy, right? And so now there are thousands of bacteria species. We have 100 trillion bacteria. There's thousands of different species of bacteria that live in our bodies, right? Live on our bodies, in our bodies, and they are equipped with their own DNA. So our human DNA comprises of about 23,000 genes. The microbes on our body, they have 4 million genes, different genes. 4 million. Human genes, only 23,000. The microbes that live in our body, 4 million. Again, why am I giving you all these stats? Why? Because you may be thinking, man, this is, oh, so what? If you want to achieve restorative longevity, you got to pay attention to the facts of what's living in our body, right? What keeps our body alive? What keeps our body functioning at optimal levels? What's going to help our body live a longer life and a higher quality of life as we get older? You can see how the healthcare, especially here in the US, is upside down. They're focused on the wrong things. You're not focused on 100 trillion bacteria live in our body. Think about that. 90% of the cells in our body are not even human. Shouldn't we focus so much? I'm not saying don't focus on the human cells. That's not what I'm saying. But we focus, the current healthcare system here in the US focus so much on the 10% of human cells in our body and neglect the 90% of microbe bacteria cells, right? But the 90% sustain our health. So let's just think about that, okay? So you're probably wondering, isn't bacteria terrible for us? Is bacteria a friend or foe? Well, there are some bacteria that can cause infections and are terrible and harmful for our bodies, but that's only less than 1%. Less than 1% of the 100 trillion bacteria in our bodies is harmful to us. Less than 1%, okay? Now, the part of the microbiome also includes viruses and fungi. So viruses definitely are harmful to our bodies. Like there's a current outbreak of measles here in Texas. And so that's a virus. So viruses are harmful to our bodies. They cause measles, they also cause the flu. And excuse me, we just went through a pandemic. COVID was a bioengineered virus, man-made virus. And so viruses are harmful to our body, right? But we still contain them. Our bodies still hold them. Here's a side note. Every virus that you get, the body does not eradicate it. Our bodies are not built to eradicate viruses. Our body, so how do we keep them from harming us? Well, our bodies have bacteria. They have all these immune cells that put the viruses in jail. So as long as we have troops outside the jails of these viruses, those viruses are kept in a jail cell. They're in solitary confinement and they are not allowed to come out and play. Now, when our immune system, our bacteria flora gets imbalanced, drops, then that basically means we are removing guards from those cells, solitary cells. And what happens is the viruses, they're able to pick the lock of their jail cell and they come out and play. That's how viruses harm us. It's when our immune system drops and our troops are no longer guarding the cells. Okay, thought that'd be an interesting side note. So coming back to our topic, friend or foe. So bacteria actually are more of our friends than our enemy. Because here's a couple of functions that bacteria does for our body. And this is why, again, let me repeat this. 90% of our cells are from our microbiome, not human cells. Shouldn't you focus on that if you really want to live a higher quality of life and you want to live a longer life, right? So bacteria help us digest food. They help us absorb nutrients from our food that we put in our mouths. They also produce vitamins like B12, right? Something, a vitamin that's crucial for the health of our nervous system. It helps us absorb B12. It helps us absorb B12. It helps us produce folate. It helps us produce amino acids like tryptophan. If you remember back in previous podcasts, if you don't, go check out my previous podcast. Tryptophan is an amino acid that is crucial in producing serotonin, right? Serotonin, a neurotransmitter. So I don't know if you've heard this before. 90% of our serotonin is produced in our gut through bacteria. So now, if you suffer from anxiety and depression, this is your answer. 90% of the serotonin you need, you're taking those SSRI, serotonin, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They're basically prevent the serotonin from being reabsorbed and keeping the serotonin in the bloodstream. That's what that medication is doing, right? Instead of reaching for those SSRI antidepressants, why not reach for some probiotics? Because the gut, the bacteria, produces 90% of your serotonin. Why not do it through eating? You can, right? Of course, you have the option of taking a pill. The pill doesn't solve it though, but eating can solve it. Eating can solve your depression. All right, bacteria also produces fatty acids like butyrate, which is an excellent energy source for our muscles, right? Here's a big one. The bacteria in our body can affect the blood-brain barrier. So remember, the blood-brain barrier is a specific barrier. It's like this wall that makes sure that nothing harmful enters our brain. Because if we didn't have that blood-brain barrier, then everything, all these viruses and fungi would be getting into our brain, and we would be dead. We would not live past probably 10 years old, maybe even younger, right? Well, here's an interesting fact. Bacteria actually help in the strength of that blood-brain barrier. They help protect our brain. The fatty acids that they produce, right? They strengthen the barrier, and they strengthen the barrier or make it more lax. So they either allow people to allow things to go in or prevent things from going in, right? That is controlled by the fatty acids produced by our bacteria in our bodies. Think about that, right? So bacteria play a huge role in our brain health. They also play a huge role in our immune system. Like I kind of already gave you the hint of that. They defend us against other microbes. So I like to say, we have good bacteria, we have bad bacteria. There is a very delicate balance in our intestines. So remember, 95% of the 100 trillion bacteria that are in our bodies, right? 95% of them are in our gut. I have told, like when I'm treating patients and they have immune system problems, autoimmune problems, allergies, food sensitivities, I tell all of them, the root, we have to balance your immune system. And their next question is, how do I do that? How do I balance my immune system? You balance your immune system by fixing your gut. It is the balance of the beneficial bacteria to the harmful bacteria. Your beneficial bacteria should be higher, should be more than your harmful bacteria. But when we do not eat right, the harmful bacteria starts to grow and there becomes an imbalance. If there is the same amount of beneficial bacteria and harmful bacteria, that is an imbalance, because the beneficial bacteria are supposed to suppress these bad bacteria and keep these bad bacteria from overgrowing and causing infections. That is your immune system. You want to fix your immune problems, your autoimmune problems, you fix your gut. You fix your gut, you fix the bacteria. Again, 90% of our cells are non-human, are microbe. The thing about, especially, research, functional medicine, they're all focused on the 10% of cellular, they're talking about cellular health, which is important. I'm not saying that's not important. But the problem is current science and current research is focusing on that 10% of human cellular health. They're so focused on that. But 90% of our bodies 90% of our cells in our body are microbiomes, mostly bacteria. Why aren't we focusing on the bacteria? You want to fix your health, your autoimmune? You have a higher success rate when you focus on the 90% of the bacteria. Focus on the 90% bacteria. You fix that, then you go work on the 10% of your own human DNA and human cells. Okay? That's what we do different at Achieve Integrative Health. And when you do that, you achieve restorative longevity. When you focus only on the 10% of the cells in your body, the 10% of the human cells in your body, that's where you notice improvement. You're improved, man, I feel great. And then you go down. And then you go up and down. You go through the yo-yo, right? Because you didn't fix the 90% of the problem. You only fixed 10% of the problem, right? Hopefully that makes sense to you. Now, immune system. So, even within the gut, there is I already talked about there's good bacteria, there's bad bacteria, but the intestinal lining, even within a gut, it has to allow things to go out of the gut, of the intestines and go in. This is called permeability, right? So the intestinal must be permeable enough to allow nutrients to flow out into the bloodstream, right? But also prevent harmful microbes from flowing out of the gut, of the bacteria, harmful bacteria flowing out of the gut into your bloodstream. Because this is what happens when the permeability becomes too permeable. You probably heard this term called leaky gut. Leaky gut, right? So leaky gut is when the intestinal walls allow everything to leave the intestines. Like your poop, just imagine this. Your poop is leaving your intestines and is going into your bloodstream. So you got poop circulating in your bloodstream. Literally. That is called leaky gut, okay? So what causes that? What causes that leaky gut? It is the balance of the bacteria versus good bacteria versus the harmful bacteria, right? And inflammation. Inflammation causes leaky gut. So how does inflammation in your intestines occur? I'm going to dive, step by step through this so you can understand. So you eat the wrong thing. You are stressed all the time. Like here in the US, it's all about having a big house, having a big car, going on vacations, and sacrificing sleep. You need money to pay for all those, right? And so people sacrifice their sleep, their health, their rest in order to make more money so they can live the American dream, which is a big house, white picket fence, mini vacations, big toys, cars, boats, whatever, helicopters. And that's kind of the American dream. Not saying it's right or wrong, but people sacrifice their health to achieve that. So that's stress. And then also they eat terrible. They drink coffee every day. Yes, coffee's not good for you. So they drink coffee every day and they take energy shots. They get vitamin B12 infusions because they're tired all the time. You do all that causes inflammation in your intestines. So your lifestyle causes inflammation in your intestines. So let's just talk about from the food perspective, because food is something that all of us eats. So when you eat, you're eating all this food, you're eating the wrong food, right? And it goes into your intestines, it causes inflammation. It causes inflammation, and also you're eating harmful bacteria. You're not eating fresh, whole foods, right? So you're getting the wrong bacteria, you're putting in your mouth harmful bacteria, you're putting all these medication. Medication also affects your gut permeability, right? So a lot of medications cause leaky gut. So you're doing all these toxins into your body and they are causing this leaky gut. So leaky gut means things inside your colon, inside your intestines are leaking out. They're leaking out into your bloodstream. So your body has a program. It has like monitors. When it senses harmful pathogens, harmful troops that are going into your bloodstream, it sends troops. It sends its immune system troops. Those immune system troops go and capture those harmful pathogens. They capture it by sometimes by eating them like a Pac-Man, but sometimes they capture them by surrounding them and forming a clump. So now you got a clump, a glob, mini globs floating through your intestines. Through your bloodstream, right? And those globs could cause inflammation within your arteries and veins. And that could cause a blood clot. Okay, many things. You see all this cascades. And it all started from you eating wrong and you not taking care of your health. You sacrificing your sleep and your rest for money. That's was the cause. That's the root cause. That's how you fix it. But this, I'm going down the rabbit hole of what all that causes. So now you have your intestines that are just allowing anything to flow out of your leaky gut into your bloodstream. They're flowing to your bloodstream. So now your immune cells are activated, your immune troops are activated, and your immune troops are saying, oh, we have identified all of these pathogens, all these things that are harmful. We need to go attack. So now you're overworking your immune system. You overwork your immune system, and your immune system starts to say, oh man, we've got too many enemies. We can no longer use a sniper rifle. We have to use a shotgun. And then if shotgun doesn't work, we have to use a shotgun, a shotgun shoots out like pellets, like all these pellets just spray, because it can hit a bigger area than a sniper. A sniper is just one bullet, right? So your immune system starts with a sniper, but once all this leaky gut allows all these harmful, your poop to go into your bloodstream, now a sniper doesn't work because there's too many enemies. So now you need a shotgun approach. Shotgun approach just hits everything, and it also hits your own body. It also hurts your own cells. So now your immune system is damaging your own cells, causing more inflammation. Sooner or later, your immune system is like, I don't know what is a harmful pathogen and what is my own cell. I'm just gonna start killing everything. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how you develop an autoimmune condition. That is how it's not from your genetics. You may have genetically prone to autoimmune, but it's because of your neglect for what you eat and your lifestyle, your pursuit of money. All of that caused your autoimmune. Now, I know this is hard to hear. Everybody wants to blame somebody else but ourselves, but this is the fact, okay? And so long term, you have all this inflammation going on in your intestines. Now the inflammation is going on in your arteries. You are developing allergies. You are developing food sensitivities because you're no longer able to absorb nutrients. This is how you develop allergies, food sensitivities, and autoimmune. Okay? So, wow. I'm almost at the end of my time. I'm gonna have to break this into a two-part. Let me see if there's any comments. Just you, yes. Yeah, just think about your poop, Linda. Just think about your poop going into your arteries, circulating your arteries. That's what's happening when you don't take care of your gut. I've got another part 2 that I'm gonna do the next week, but I'll end with some solutions, okay? So I've told you what's the problem. The root problem I already said, it's your lifestyle. Your lifestyle is the cause. It's not your genetics. Go to my previous podcast where it's genes load the gun, but it's your habits that fire the gun. Okay? So it is not because of your genes that you have your chronic inflammatory diseases, your hypertension, your high blood pressure, your cholesterol, your Hashimoto's, your thyroid. There's so much Hashimoto's here in the US. I don't know about else in the world, but in the US, it's Hashimoto's is on the rise. And it's because of lifestyle. We treat Hashimoto's, and every one of those Hashimoto's patients, they had a lifestyle issue. They sacrificed something in their health. They sacrifice what they eat. They sacrifice community, spending time, having joy with their families. Okay? They sacrificed those. They sacrificed sleep. They go, I'll recover. Or they sleep 6 to 7 hours a day, and every day they wake up tired, so they pump the coffee, pump the caffeine. They go to one of these so-called wellness new shops that are popping around, where they give you IV nutrition, and they get the IV nutrition I'm not saying those are bad, but if you're using those to make up for your bad habits, your bad lifestyle, then they're bad because they're not really helping. They're not solving the problem. They're just getting you by for the next day. But what you don't realize is every day you're destroying your gut. You're destroying your gut. So what you eat affects the bacteria microbiome in your intestines. Your stress level affects your bacteria also. Your stress level suppresses your good bacteria and then it helps the bad bacteria. So you get that imbalance. Remember, good bacteria needs to be here, bad bacteria needs to be here. When you stress, your good bacteria drops. Your bad bacteria may not have even changed. Let's say I see this a lot with thyroid patients, hypothyroid patients. They are, they have done everything. They eat right? They exercise, they're taking all the vitamins, they're getting IV nutrition, right? And so they're keeping their bad bacteria, this is bad bacteria, they're keeping their bad bacteria low. But what the problem is, they're sacrificing their sleep, their restful time, and so that suppresses their good bacteria. So everything they did was good. It didn't raise the bad bacteria, but they didn't do the things to help their good bacteria stay high. So they suppressed, their stress suppressed their good bacteria. So now this is the imbalance, because normal balance is this, good bacteria here. They became here. That's why they have problems. That's why they come to us and say, man, I do this, I do CrossFit, I do cycle, I do IV nutrition, I take 50 supplements a day, I eat right, I do the whole 30, I do paleo, but I still feel like crap. Literally, because crap is, what do you think? I'm wondering if people, the saying, I feel like crap, came from this, because literally you got poop circulating throughout your whole body, in your bloodstream. Literally, that's why you're feeling like crap. You have that permeability, right? So how do you fix all this? You fix from the top things, okay? I'm not going to address those top things because that's different for everybody. But there are certain habits you need to do. I've done a podcast, check back, about the longevity 7. The 7 most important habits you need to achieve restorative longevity. But for today's purposes, bacteria. How do you fix this? How do you fix the imbalance? Let's say you've been on a fast food binge and your harmful bacteria is just elevated. This is how you fix it. It's not as through a supplement. Supplement is secondary. You want to eat beneficial bacteria. They are called probiotics. Where do you get your probiotics? You can get your probiotics. The best source is from fermented foods. Fermented foods. So this is one thing, one of the blue zone areas is in Japan, they eat a lot of fermented soybean, right? I think it's called natto. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but fermented. So kimchi, Koreans eat kimchi, fermented. Here in the US, there's sauerkraut, fermented foods. Those are the best source of probiotics. You can also get probiotics through eating fruits. There's little of them, like apples. Not so much. There's prebiotic. They feed the probiotic, but the main probiotics you want to get is from fermented food, fermented seaweed, fermented tofu. You can ferment vegetables. Can them and ferment them. Those are your natural probiotics. Those are better than anything you can pop from a pill. Now, some people are going to ask, well, I don't like fermented. Well, if you don't like fermented, let me ask you this. You want to eat fermented? You want to just chew down this fermented food even though you don't like it? Or do you want poop in your bloodstream? It's your choice, okay? There is a second option. It's not the option I recommend as a long-term, and it is through a capsule, through a pill, probiotics through a pill. But there's a strategy on how to use probiotics through a pill. You don't take the same probiotic forever. You have to alternate your probiotics. Because remember, we have 100 trillion different types of bacteria. If you keep on taking the same probiotic every single day for 1 year, you are overpopulating that one bacteria. So that one bacteria that used to be protecting a good bacteria, now you just made it into a bad bacteria. So be careful of how you're popping bacteria, probiotics through a pill. Okay, you can do that, and we give that to our patients. You have to alternate them. So here's a strategy that I like to use. So take notes. If you're listening in right now, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribe to our channel. Make sure your friends and family are getting this. Here's a strategy we tell our patients. Here's advice we give our patients. Usually one bottle of probiotics lasts about 30 days. After you're finished with that probiotics, switch to another form of probiotics. You have to read the label. Make sure you are not double dosing the same probiotics month by month by month. Okay? Stick with the same brand for first and go through the different variations of bacteria. So every month you should be taking a different bacteria. You should never be taking the same bacteria month by month. You will be making a good bacteria harmful and causing infections, causing inflammation. Okay, hope that helps, guys. I will come with part 2 next week, same time, Sunday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll get part 2. This is so important. That's why I have to do a part 2, maybe even part 3. We'll see. But this is so important. Why? Because 90% of our cells are microbiome, not human cells. So if you focus on the 90% of the cells in our body, you improve those, you have a higher chance and a faster chance of improving your health than just focusing on the 10%. I'm not saying don't focus on 10%. We will help you focus on 10%. But hey, this is common sense. 90%, you help not use 90% of these troops, these healthy troops, don't you think you'll feel better faster? Common sense, guys. All right. See you next week. Peace.
This episode is sponsored by Achieve Integrative Health, the #1 acupuncture clinic in the US. We're grateful for their support in helping us bring you the Restorative Longevity Podcast.